Hey guys, welcome back to our channel Get Play Soon. Also welcome back to the episode 12 of LeetCode SQL 50 challenge. In the previous videos, we have completed all these select statement problems, all these problems from basic joins concept. Now moving ahead with the concept basic aggregate functions, and let's start solving these problems. Before starting with these problems, let's learn some SQL concept. Let me introduce to you about this mode function. The mode function calculates the remainder of division of two numbers. So according to the syntax, you are supposed to give two parameters. The first parameters will be the number, the value that to be divided, and the second parameter is the divisor, the value by which this number is divided. So the mode function calculates remainder of the division. Okay. For example, if you give 3, 2 for mode function, the answer will be 1 because the remainder will be 1. And if you give 4, 2, remainder will be 0. If the remainder is 1, which means the number is odd. If the remainder is 0, the number is even. So we can use this mode function to calculate even and odd also. Other uses of mode function is you can test the divisibility rules, etc. Okay. Now getting started with the first question, not boring movies. So we have only one table here, that is cinema table. We have the ID, the movie, description and rating. Here according to the question, we are supposed to write a solution that report the movies with an odd numbered ID and description that is not boring. So if the ID is even number, we will just ignore them, we will just remove them. So in the odd numbered IDs, we will go to the description and check. If the description is boring, we will remove them also. Whatever is left, records only we will be presenting. In the result also, we will return the result in the descending order of the rating. Okay, let's see how to do this. So here we have this example input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here only 1, 3 and 5 rows are considered. 2 and 4 rows are not considered because there are even numbers. Out of 1, 3 and 5, let's look at the description. 3 consists of this word boring. That's why we will remove boring. Only 1 and 5 will be returned in the output. Now 1 has 8.9 rating and 5 has 9.1 rating, which is highest in the descending order, right? So 5 followed by 1. 5 followed by 1, these rows are written in this way in the output. Now let's see how to write this code. Whatever columns we are supposed to return in the result, we will mention them in the select statement. So ID, movie, description, rating from the table cinema, where mod ID, 2 is equals to 1. We will only check for odd numbers and description not equal to boring. So we are using AND operator here just to see both the conditions should be satisfied. Only when both the conditions are satisfied, the rows are returned. Now while printing the result, we want it in the descending order. That's why we are using this order by statement. Whenever we use order by statement, as we discussed earlier in the earlier videos also, it will by default give it in ascending order, but we want in descending order. That's why we will mention the column name based on the values in the descending order. The whole result will be ordered. Okay, this is how we write this problem. This is how we solve this problem. I hope you understood this. Now we have solved the first problem in the basic aggregate functions. Now before moving to the second problem, average selling price, let's learn some concept. Now let me introduce you to this function called coalesce function in SQL. It handles null values by returning the first non-null expression among its arguments. So in the parameters, whatever values are present, it may consist of both null values and non-null values. Whenever you use this coalesce function, the first non-null expression will be returned. Let me explain you with the easiest example. So in the example table, we have two columns, that is first name and middle name. Here you can see John, A, Jane, but in this column we can see there is a null. Okay, so when we generally write the SQL statement, first name space middle name as full name from person name, whenever we want to take the names, it will be John A and it will return null instead of J null, because it is having a null function. So we don't want null, we just want at least chain, at least some name to be represented. If you don't know the middle name but still you want to return some name, then you can use this coalesce function here. So what are we doing here? We are selecting the first name, giving space, plus coalesce middle name and space as full name from person name. Now what happens is, here in the arguments you can see one is middle name. When you go to middle name here, in the chain, in the second row middle name, you can find null. In the second argument, we are just giving a space. We are not giving anything. So what is a non-null expression here? The space is a non-null expression. So this will be considered. Okay, instead of null, we have chain and space. So this is better, right? So coalesce function in SQL handles null values, returning the first non-null expression. Here we are adding a non-null expression here. So if null is present, instead of taking the null, it will take this non-null expression. I hope you understood this function. Now moving ahead, in the previous video we have used this function if null. There is one more thing called null if. I am going to explain you the difference between if null and null if. Here we are selecting if null and we are having a and b parameters. A is already null. The expression of a is already null. So if a is null, put the result as b. Here if a is equals to b, then put the result as null. I hope you understood the difference between if null and null if. It's not a difference. They are two different things. I'm just going to explain you which is what. So if null is a different thing and null if is a different thing. I hope you understood the usage of both the things. Now moving ahead with the second problem in this topic, average selling price. So here we have two tables. One is prices table and the second thing is units sold table. In the prices table, you can see product ID, start date, end date and price. The same product ID is present in this unit sold table also. Product ID, purchase date and units sold. Okay. We are supposed to write a solution to find average selling price for each and every product. And also the result should be rounded to 2 decimal places. Now let's see an example. Here you have product IDs, product 1 and 2. You can see the start date and end date and the prices. At the same time, you can see purchase dates and how many units are purchased. So based on all this information, we need to find the average price. The thing we are doing here is we are using the left join, because we need to combine left join using prices table. Prices table will be the left table and units sold table will be the right table. So this ensures that all products from prices table are included even if there is no corresponding unit sold table. Okay. Now the second thing we are going to do is we will calculate the revenue and total units. Based on the revenue and the total units, we can find the average selling price. So let me explain you the approach and the code. As you can see here, from prices table P, we are doing left join unit sold. How we are joining the both tables? Using the common column, that is using product ID from both the tables. P product ID is equals to u dot product ID. We use the condition on while we are joining. And the second most important thing that we need to take care when we are joining is the purchase date should be between the start date and end date. So this unit sold table might consist of old stock details also, right? So that this purchase date should be in between this and this. In that condition, on that basis only we will join the tables. Once we join the tables, you can see here about product ID, you can see multiple ones. About product ID 2, you can see multiple rows. Again here multiple rows on 1, multiple rows on 2. To get rid of confusion, we will use group by p dot product ID. Now in the output, you can see here we are returning two columns. One is product ID and the second thing is average price. So in the select, we'll add product ID. Now comes the most important statement of this problem, that is calculating the average price. How we are calculating it. To calculate the average price, there is a lot of steps involved here. Let's get started with the first thing. The first step here is to calculate the revenue. To calculate the revenue, what we are doing is we are multiplying the price with number of units sold. Also here we are using left join. The left join ensures that prices without corresponding units sold are also considered. Okay, so now coming back, the total revenue is calculated by price into units, and for all product IDs, right? That's why we do sum of all product IDs. Now the second thing is calculating the total units for each and every product. To do that, we use sum of u dot units. The total units sold is 0, which means if the stock is not cleared, there is none sold, then it becomes 0, and we can't do 0 by 0, which becomes division by 0 errors. To get rid of errors, we will keep this 0 here in the null if parameter. If this value becomes 0 and comma 0, so if a is equals to b in null if, it will return null. So instead of mentioning it as 0, we will mention it as null to get rid of any 0 division errors. Okay, so now for calculating the average price, we did sum of price into units by sum of units. So what are we doing here? We are replacing the 0 with null if, and this colace will replace the null with 0 for the final calculation. Okay, after that, it also mentioned that the final result should be round to up to 2 decimal. That's why we use this round function till 2 decimal. After writing all this statement, we will update the column name as average underscore price. I hope you understood this video. I hope you understood how to solve this problem. That's it from my side. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you have any doubts, make sure you comment below. So we are done with solving the second problem also. Stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Bye bye.